I ducked under a sweeping blade and spun to the left just to parry away the strike of another attacker. My blade on Adele left an almost ghostly afterimage of wispy white as she shone brightly in the dwindling light of Father Soul. The world was alive in color as amber sparks trailed from my eyes while I dove over a huge blade which was almost as big as I was as it swept past where my legs had been a moment before. I landed in a roll that put distance between me and two of my opponents, then I rolled up onto my feet panting. They were wearing me down. They had been at it for over 10 minutes now. I could feel them moving around me, like wisps of white ghosts on the edge of my perception. Since the day of my second igniting, I have been able to feel all of the life in the world surrounding me. I may possess the weakest magic potential of all the Techno-Knights of Wexbury, but I was an adept, and my abilities span the spectrum of known magics. It was a state secret that I also possessed the magic of the people, the magic of the Mountain Gypsies that inhabited the Whispering Walls range. That was giving me the edge now, as the world came into focus on an instinctive level when I was accessing it. 2 years aforetime, the band of gypsies who befriended me and saved my life, the Lupei family, had imbued my cloak and my blade with charms that made me harder to hit and gave me just a little bit of luck. I could feel the strike coming, and I whipped Adele up behind me to catch a blow that drove me to my knees. I panted as my blade sparked, her razor-sharp edge never dulling thanks to the glowing white runes on her and the fact that she had changed in nature in a way the Lupei could not explain. They say that something happened to the metal itself when I had channeled so much power through her in the Battle of the Monolith, which had left me scarred in more ways than just physically. My hand blurred forward, leaving ghostly afterimages from my spell-imbued silk glove. I intercepted the blow meant to finish this fight as my luck continued. We all knew it was just a matter of time. They had pushed me far past my limits, and I was slowing down in my exhaustion as they continued their relentless assault. I spun on my knees into a stand as I stretched out my blade, the tip of Adele tapping each of the 4 swords in my opponent's hands. I almost smirked. It is what the love of my life Celeste often did to indicate her reach and dare anyone to enter that circle. This drew chuckles from all around me as I smirked in defiance. Then the huge blade came crashing down on me, and again I was driven to my knees. Sir Tennyson grunted as I deflected his blade into the ground. Celeste said, "Good, Laney, that's better." She came at me from my weak side in a spinning fury of blows. I rolled over the ground in the hole made by Tennyson being off balance. I kicked his leg on my way past, and the big man tumbled to the ground with a resounding oof. I was able to get to my feet as I deflected the flurry of blows, both Celeste and I leaving behind wispy ghost images as we danced. She, too, had the blessing of the Lupei on her cloak and blade. Verna struck from behind, and I just barely sidestepped in time to grab the end of her blade, Gertrude with a gauntlet. I yanked her off balance before Celeste renewed her attack. Sparks flew as our swords clashed. Someone called out, "Just yield, Laney." Another asked, "Why doesn't she yield? She is outmatched." As Celeste hacked away at me, drawing my guard off time and again, she said between potentially debilitating strikes, "Laney." She reversed direction almost faster than my eyes could follow, and I barely got Adele in place to intercept, our blades sparking. "Doesn't." She did a probing thrust that I didn't bother using my blade to deflect. I slapped it away with my free hand as I panted. "No." She did a sort of pirouette that I have never seen from her before. Her hair billowed out like a red sea of fire behind her, and she ended in a double-handed overhead strike that had me falling to a knee once again with a grunt. "How?" She just started hacking down at Adele, which I had over my head. "Two." She grinned and went for my exposed side. "Yield." Then she was suddenly on a knee in front of me, her blade at my neck, and she winked at me and gave me a quick peck on the lips as Verna said, "Laney is out." I grinned and overdramatically collapsed onto the ground, letting Adele clatter to the cobblestones of the practice yard while I gasped for breath with a silly grin on my face. Countess Celeste of the Techno-Knight Order, Blade of Temperance of Wexbury, daughter of prime Techromancer Donovan, Lady of the Court, stood and crinkled her nose at me as she sheathed her blade. She wasn't even breathing hard. Neither were the other 3 knights. She offered a hand and I grabbed my sword, then accepted her hand with a smile, and she pulled me to my feet with no effort at all. My hand remained on hers, and she laced our fingers as we stepped over to Verna, who was collecting coins from the knights and squires who watched the spectacle of me getting trounced by my fellow knights.